Came too far to turn back.
The return of the lyricist. Get it together.
What's up? You're listening to You Good with Mike Brown, a mental health podcast. This is the first episode. We got Dustin from the FriendZone Podcast on Loudspeakers Network. We kept him in the family. He was not my first guest, but this episode needed to come out first. Dustin is the homie. I mean, I talk about it on the podcast, but like, I kind of live by this weird code with Dustin refers to as the G code on the podcast, where basically, if I really mess with somebody and somebody says you're good, then you're good to me until proven otherwise. And that's just how I vibe. So with Dustin, it was like, I had randomly hit him up like, yo, man, I know you're doing a lot of things. I saw like the Cassius Life show. Like, would you want to do the podcast? And he was like, what's it about? I told him. He was like, yeah, I'd love to do it. And we had a really, really dope talk. We talked about racial things. We talked about sexuality things. We talked about growing up in a faith-based household. We talked about parents not understanding. It's just like a really dope episode. I hope you guys like it. Hit him up and tell him what you thought of the episode at Look at Dustin. Hit me up at Yo Mike Brown. And this is the episode. You Go with Mike Brown, a mental health podcast. Check it out. So with the podcast, right?
Yes.
I wanted to do a podcast where basically, like, I have a history of mental health. Like, I was suicidal. Mm-hmm. I have mixed anxiety, depressive disorder. I was hospitalized. I self-hospitalized and came out. And like in my recovery, what I realized is that the more I'm open about mental health or just like not struggling with it, but like coping with my anxiety and all that, a lot of people keep hitting me up and like, oh, this is so good that you talk about this or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that other people kind of went through it. Yeah. And it's easier for me to talk about it as a public figure.
Yes.
And I know that like a lot of us kind of go through that because we have that like duality of we're a public figure and a person. So we have like our personal life and how the personal life is affected by the public figure stuff and vice versa, right?
Yes, fuck
and,
yeah.
It's fucking nuts. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you because like I was telling Chris, I was like, yo, Dustin's somebody who I've met a few times, right? And it was always good vibes.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And like with Fury, like I was saying, like Fury's family to me. You know what I mean? And it's like whoever he's good with. If he says somebody's good, that person's good with me, right? And then like on social media, like, you know, you follow posts and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's funny. It's a good person.
Same.
Right?
You funny as hell, Mike Brown.
I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I do it for the culture.
Word.
You know?
You got to be funny. Your name is Mike Brown.
I got to be.
It's a bunch of them. So like for you to make yours like, oh, I know Mike Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like for that to mean you, that means you're good at what you do, man.
It's going to be crazy. Like, so I gotta join SAG, and I found out this fun fact. Michael B. Jordan's real name is Michael Jordan Brown. And Michael Ealy's real name is Michael Brown. So I got to figure out what I'm gonna do for my situation, but
fuck them up and be Michael B. Ely. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Michael B. Ely.
Since they want to steal names in this motherfucker, let's do that. Okay?
Ely Manga. I just want to be somebody,
and that works because you know how many Vanessa Williams it is.
Yeah, there was Vanessa,
and we know all of them. Yeah. You know, as members of the proud card-carrying members of the Black delegation, we can immediately identify Vanessa Williams and Vanessa L. Williams.
Yeah.
So it can work.
Equal. Yeah, we got them. And the other one too was So I did Super Video Bros and I had Jamila on. And she was doing and she was I think she's running the Cassius Life.
Yes, she is.
Men Lifestyle. And so she had mentioned the show and I was like, Dustin got a show. So I went and watched the show and I was like, this is so funny and so good because it's like it's that thing about like, all right, so I'm learning how to cook steaks. It was like it's really good. So I was like, I would love to just talk to you just general, and also like listen to FriendZone where like you have a lot of I think like such a calm and composed philosophy when it comes to just like living and approaching different situations. I was like, I just want to talk to him about like mental health. Like, has he had any anxiety issues? Has he ever been to therapy? Like anybody in his family? I just wanted to have that conversation with you. So that's what this is, and it's also this is so people who listen to it that might be going through it, they know that they're not like alone. Like their situation is unique, but they're not alone in having
that issue or something to manage, right?
Yeah. And so how do you manage and all that? So that's where this whole thing is. That's
okay, so we can talk. You know what I'm saying? It's a safe space. What's the other disclaimer shit, therapy shit you're supposed to say? This is a safe space.
Yeah, this is a safe space.
You know, and in here it's safe to say whatever you're supposed to say. Disclaimer, boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Also,
it's a conversation too, because it's like it's not just like me getting all in your business.
Yeah,
I'll be like, I feel, you know what I mean? So also that, so it's super.
But see,
safe.
Mike, you're funny, and the thing about it is, like, in order for someone to be authentically funny and literally be able to find humor that is special or stands out, not the shit that not like a like a sex tape Kim K joke, not nothing ordinary like that. There's depth there because you have to understand the complexities of life beyond what is ordinary.
Exactly.
In order to, find the humor like that. So that means you done been to the extreme one way or the other, okay?
Yeah.
And that is actually a common thread. If you go through the history, I'm sure you study comedy, so you know the history of, like, many of the greats who had very private but very intense struggles with, like, mental health and mental wellness overall. Yeah. So it is something that is unbelievably common. But, that's why when people be laughing like, nigga, you crazy, you be like, shit, you like, I mean, for real, you don't even know. You just hit the nail on the head. You know what I'm saying? So, but that is important, man. And I don't know. Like, it's funny you mentioned two things. Number one, the connection with Fury. You know, everybody that knows me today knows that is literally one of my best friends. Like, me and Fury are like brothers. Yeah. We are different, but we see eye to eye on so many things, and it's really like enriched our friendship. Yeah. And through that, one of the things that we have, a common thread that we have, is like loyalty and like just the G code. You know what I'm saying? Like he runs his shit that way, and so do I. I'm from Flint, Michigan. That's where I grew up. You know what I'm saying? Fury's from Miami. Yeah. So the moral code was kind of like akin. Yeah. And so the fact that you, in other words, what you described so eloquently and so sum cum laude, you know what I'm saying?
Ooh, a lot of vocabulary.
Means, you know what I'm saying? What you described that way meant, just the code, like on the strength is what you described. You basically fuck with me on the strength because of Fury, and that is the type of, I understand that logic, and that's kind of how I run my life. So that I knew you would, I understood and felt where you were coming from when you said that, bro. I think you're hilarious too. You know what I'm saying? So it's always enriching from a creative standpoint to receive that sort of praise from somebody who you have that same sort of respect for. Yeah. It's one thing to like what somebody puts out, but to have respect for like their method, that's a whole different level. So thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you for doing, because like for me, what I want to do is maintain authenticity on the podcast. Like where it's like, you have a podcast where you go with your two heart, like y'all, the three amigos, like y'all doing it, FriendZone, like, and you have that bond, and nobody can break that. The same way it's like with the Reed, where it's like there's a bond, you can't break that. Yeah. And so for my thing, it's like, it is me, Dolo in the beginning, Dolo in the end, but it's like, but every time on the podcast, it's like, people will know you as a public figure, right? And there's going to be other people who come in this seat, your seat right now, who they don't know, but it's like, hey, you got to kind of listen to it off the strength of me. Exactly. That I know that there's somebody that you should listen to.
But that's another bond your ass done built. You know what I'm saying? With your audience. Yeah. And when you build that sort of like trust, like we just said, off the strength, they're going to listen. They don't know me. Yeah. Regular nigga, I ain't even pop chat. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I just be working. No, I ain't pop, but like I just been working consistently, and that's it. And so they're willing to listen. Normally people skip these kind of conversations. If you ain't seen me on TV, or if you haven't heard me speak on a broader platform where you feel like I've legitimized my voice or my platform, they're not interested. They skip ad and skip video. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're here, so that's great. Now, mental health struggles. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I'm a black man, okay? Woke up black. First words was black. You know what I'm saying? I danced on beat as a baby. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like for real, like I'm black for real. Yeah. Youngest of 4 kids. My parents are still married to this day. They've been married for almost 50 years. Okay. That is one that's super incredible. Yeah. And we got to. But go ahead. I mean, it's a lot of shit with that, though. You know what I'm saying? Because they had children at 19 years old. So there's a part of your life that stops and then a new part that starts after childbirth. So the fact that I'm, the age I am and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And without children, there's a space in life and in progression and evolution that they are not familiar with that I am. Just like being a young parent, I don't understand their experience. So that we have a very apparent difference of opinion when it comes to life. You know what I'm saying? I'm gay on the weekends, you know what I'm saying? And so like, so you know what I'm saying? Obviously I'm their son, so they not gay, you know what I'm saying? So like we have a difference of opinion, and then they're very, very convicted in their faith, which brings me to the mental health conversation. I grew up in a very strong, you know what I'm saying, religious-based and faith-based household.
Was this education as well, or was it just like familial? Like, did they were like, hey, read the Bible?
Yes,
or they were like, you're going to
an educational process, and there was a weekly schedule of events that we followed all of my young life until I became an adult. And there were lots of things that were normal about life to me that just weren't a part of this program, from social interactions to, just other things that they did not feel were, that did not work into accordance with their beliefs and the way that things worked. So naturally, this was a decision that my parents made as adults, and then they raised their children, that this is the way you're supposed to live. So there's an opportunity of choice there that my parents had that I didn't have. So our experiences with that faith were quite different. And although they had decided that worked for them and it was something that they felt was good to impart and teach their children, the experience as one of the kids was a little bit different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody else eating birthday cake, you can't have none. You know what I'm saying? You 4 years old, what are you supposed to do? So there was a whole nother realm of thought that I engaged in as a child that other kids around me didn't have. There was another filter or layer that I had to be aware of. Add to that layer the gay shit.
Yeah.
Add to that layer, go up underneath them 2 layers, and the first layer is the black shit. So I was thinking literally 3 steps ahead of everybody else around me from the time I was able to really be aware of my own thoughts. And I had to in order to feel comfortable. I'm different on so many levels from everybody around me, and I had to manage that as a kid, my nigga. I was fucked up.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like, I think even now when like this PC world of where people use that like hot button word of diversity, right?
Yeah,
and people always thought that like diversity just meant black, and then it's like, no, it doesn't just mean black. It could be black in Latin, or it can be anything to the sense of like sexuality, race, religion, economic background, like diversifying all these different points. And like, so when you talk about layers, right? Where you're like,
I ain't even have hair on my legs, man. Yeah. So not only do I got to deal with hiding being gay and shit, I ain't even got hair on my legs. I want a hairy leg so bad. I don't know why. I just felt like I'd have been a man. Either. But guess where I do got it? This is where God's a comedian. This is why I say I'm a godly man. I'm a man of God, because I know God is a comedian. My back, my shoulders, fucked up, manly, fucked up areas like that. Funny. God gave me hair there, but my legs, looking like Haynes her way and shit. I don't appreciate that shit. I work hard to run my shit a certain way, and I did not need, the fork in the road of hairless legs, but I digress.
What? So I guess when you talk about like layers, right? Like,
yeah. I thought he was finna say legs. I was like, damn!
When you talk about your skinfully legs, what kind of moisturizer?
God damn, man!
The most. I'm not.
Damn.
The difference when you say layers, right?
Yes.
So you're like, okay, there's like, I guess the black layer.
Yes.
There is the gay layer.
Yes.
There is the religious layer.
Yes.
How did those layers come about? Because like as a kid, you get like the I guess like the religious layer of like, I can't eat.
I can't do.
Yeah, I can't do this. I can't have this cake or whatever. Did you also have that layer of like blackness and like and like sexuality on you too? Were you
absolutely? As a child, I was I was in a program called the Magnet Program. So like my classes were advanced beyond what was normal for kids my age.
Yeah,
and they were also in a different school. The funny thing is, the school was literally in the middle of an area that would have been considered like the hood. Yeah. But because that was where that program was housed, on the first floor of that school were all the students who were in that local neighborhood. On the second floor of that school was where the magnet program was, and I was amongst a majority white classroom, okay? So of kids who were bussed in, or not even bussed in, driven into this area for that purpose. So I was very aware that I was black early on. Plus certain things just didn't make sense to me, like pop music. I grew up with Maids and Frankie Beverly, so I knew when the other kids was bopping around to, Backstreet's Back and shit, and I didn't connect. I was like, I'm different. Yeah. So so I knew I was black. Yeah. I remember when I was in the 4th grade, a boy named Peter Peterson called me a nigger. Wow. In the 4th grade. And I remember at that early age, I knew that God had kind of gotten him back because his name was Peter Peterson. And I knew he would get hell for that later on in life. So we was even, you know what I'm saying? So I was very aware of that shit, man. And like I said, the whole religion thing played a huge, huge factor in my development. And I don't even know how much more vividly I can describe to you the fact that I literally had to think a step ahead of everybody else because it was such a handicap in coolness.
Like how? And how long did you have, I guess, that handicap? Do you still feel like you have it?
No, I'm grown, free. Everything that starts with an F, I'm doing it. So I am good to go these days.
So how did you break that?
Well,
because
I left home. Yeah.
So just leaving home.
Well, and more than that, I just grew into that space. So I grew up, and I ended up being able to make my own decisions and choices. But just dialing back, there were more things that added other layers. So I didn't want to be uncool and not be able to do things, but. Okay, here's a prime example. Yeah. I was just home recently at my parents' house, and my father showed me a shoebox of my old shit that he had found, some things that I had, like, teenager shit, notes from old girlfriends, shit like that. Yeah. There was a note from a girl that I went with, which didn't mean nothing, but I had sucked her titties or whatever. Okay. But that made her my girlfriend, so whatever. So there was a letter from her about homecoming. Okay. Now, my parents were not open to us going to, like, school dances, shit like that. But, going to homecoming, prom, things like that, they were defining in, like, your social positioning and development in high school, and I couldn't go. But I also was aware that it was really whack and corny not to be able to go, to be the boy who couldn't go. Not that you didn't go, but the reason you didn't go, I was aware that was defining. Wow. So my father found this letter where this girl had written me, basically just going off on me, talking about how if I didn't want to go, I should have just said something. And I knew how important it was to her to want to go. And if I don't want to be with her, then just don't say anything. Oh, man. But it was clear that I had thrown a spin on it to kind of navigate not going to homecoming together and blamed it on, like, my, lack of a desire to go. And she was tripping for trying to make me go or whatever. But I was glad that my father had found that and read it. And as I was reading it, it hit me like, I'm so glad that you found this and you've seen it. So now the work that my young mind was doing at 16, 15 years old to kind of spin this so that I wouldn't be shamed. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't able to do the cool shit. I was so glad he was able to see that. Yeah. And him and my mom just kind of shook their head like you doing right now. Yeah. And me and my brother sat there and cracked up. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, we, like I said, all the F's. Yeah. But,
it's like that. It feels like that evidence of, like, this was you kind of going through, and it's not even like a traumatic thing, but it's like a turning point where it's like, okay, I can't go to homecoming.
It is traumatic, though. You want me to tell you why?
We can say traumatic. Go ahead.
It was traumatic, and I'm going to tell you why.
I'm not going to tell you what's traumas.
All right, fuck that. Put it in the pile. Okay. It's traumatic. I'm going to tell you why, man. Because at that age, those sorts of experiences give you, like, self-confidence. And that self-confidence manifests itself in your the effort that you put forth academically, in the things that you even submit yourself for, the chances you take, and the opportunities you seek, because you feel good about yourself. Yeah. That's why social engagement and interaction is important. So when you're crippled in that way, but still aware of how all of that works, it is traumatic. You ask questions about yourself. You start to feel less than. You don't feel like you can be the person who you know you could be in that situation. You're handicapped. It's embarrassing, and when you have that compiled with like a lot of other shit, it really does hinder your development. It took me years to even feel comfortable in social settings and feel like I could be on the same level as everybody else in the room and comfortable enough to really be myself and make friends and shit. That's work I had to do afterward.
How did you, like, I guess, start that work? I mean, I know after going through that and kind of saying, like, because the way I look at it, I'm like, there's been times in my life where, like, you kind of hold that weight on your shoulder. So you're like, okay, I'm not going to throw my parents under the bus for religion. And I also know that I'm not going to look stupid on this, and I also don't want to hurt, my girlfriend's feelings. So let me kind of make this thing so everybody kind of comes out okay.
Except your ass.
Except you. So you're trying to be this hero, or you're trying to do the most objectively right thing, but in the long run, it's like a turning point for you, because it's like you couldn't like communicate with her, but like, listen, I would love to go with you, but because this religion thing and this thing is embarrassing to me, but I want to, but I do like you and all this other shit.
Precisely. How long you been going to therapy, Mike?
Man, I've been going to
that what you just said. That's a result of some thinking. Okay, you didn't been to therapy.
Yeah, I've been to man. I went to therapy, dude. The first time I was suicidal in high school because I grew up in Queens and Harlem. So my dad, Jamaican, messing around on my mom. They broke up because they didn't think I was his kid, right? So my mom raised me by herself, had some other kids, whatever. And then she's like, hey, you got to go to high school. There's this great high school in Harlem. Your father wants to raise you, whatever. Go live with him. So I moved in with him. And it was weird because he was like 35 at this point. He had just got married to somebody who was like not a few years older than me, but like she was young. And they're still married today, whatever. And I was 14. So it's like you're 35 years old and ding dong, the bell rings, and you have this like 13, 14-year-old son of yours that you've never really spent real time with living with you. And I'm 13 already myself from like how my mom raised me, and now I'm living with this Jamaican guy from Jamaica who has his own views of what a man should be. And it's all those things. So I just felt like I was wrong. I was not like being like loved or whatever. You know what I mean? So I had I attempted suicide. No. I was gonna commit suicide. I tried, thought about it. I called 911 because I didn't know there was like a number. You know what I mean? So the cops came to the door. And I didn't know that happened. And then it was a whole thing. And I was like, fuck, I didn't want anybody to know this stuff. And after then, it was like, okay, something's wrong. 911
was like them Catholic confessionals where you can't see the priest and shit. Like, well, I'm just going to tell you what happened. And, you know
how crazy this shit was? I called him and I was like, hey, I feel sad and I want to commit suicide, but I'm not really sure. So I just want to talk this out. And she was like, okay,
what's your address?
Yeah, she was like,
You're like, why this bitch asking my address? I just told her, shit. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. But I'm also, my anxiety, I was talking to her, and I'm like, I know that she's working. Yeah. So I was like, I didn't want to ruin her day. I'm like, no, it's okay. I just want to talk about it. And she's like, all right,
but a kid.
As a kid
caring that much about how somebody else's feelings were based on you describing yours.
Exactly. And it's the same thing. And that's why I'm saying, like, when you talk about that homecoming story, it's like there's so much. It's like you're forced to deal with these emotions and situations in a way that you can't even comprehend it yet. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes you want to be able to like talk to a parent about that, but that parent is going to be like, "But you're my child." Yeah. They're not looking at you as a person.
Yeah. Or they take it personally, like you're trying to tell them they did something wrong, which I am, but not in a way where I'm trying to like. And furthermore, even if I am, so what? You should be able. It's okay for us to have a conversation about you fucking up.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fact that you're not ready for that, you know what I mean? That therein lies the breakdown. I got PTSD from that homecoming shit.
Really?
Post tuxedo stress disorder. I was in a wedding. I was in a wedding last week. I told you I was at home. Yeah. I was turning my tux in mad as hell last week, man. Like every time I see a tuxedo, I get mad thinking about homecoming. You know what I'm saying? I'm still raw.
Oh man!
So, yeah.
Did you go to did you go to your prom?
No.
I didn't go to my prom either. It's like my only regret in life.
Nope.
That's my only
prom. We went to Mexico on vacation, on like a family vacation. And prom, the day of prom got changed, so they kind of weaseled their way out of that. Like, well, you're already going to Mexico, you're not going to be in town, but y'all motherfuckers weren't going to let me go anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't appreciate that, because they went to prom. They got pictures and they shit, bows and ribbons and shit and suits.
So wait.
You know what I'm saying? They got all that. You know, they used good material back then. My parents old than a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So they used good material back in the day. They pictures still look good today.
Still fresh. Still looking. That's what about like, so are you still like religious now? Like, do you still hold any of like the tenets of like religion with you, or
only
just like...
I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ being God's son.
Yeah.
And I believe that, but I believe that you have a moral responsibility to be a well-intentioned human being. And I believe that I shouldn't say you, this is my belief for me, right? Yeah. I believe that I have an obligation to do good, to do my best, and to also do good for other people when I can, and to make a way for people who may have experienced this. I believe that you go through struggles so that you can master that experience and then make it easier for someone else who may have it after you. I think you have that. I have that responsibility.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm more of a spiritual person today.
Yeah.
I'm not at all interested in practicing a religion or attending a church regularly. I don't believe in, like religion as a business and organization. I don't think I have to go sit in a building every week. It's only, I believe in the Bible, it's only 66 books. 67 ain't, I ain't heard no release date for book 67.
Yeah.
Revelation is the end, far as I know. So every day, I mean, how many weeks we got to talk about the same shit? Like, be a good person, don't lie, steal, cheat. What else do they say? No braiding of the hair or adorning it. Well, that's the parts we don't pay attention to. The only part you pay attention to is don't be gay. You know what I'm saying? But like it's just, I just feel like it's a bunch of the same shit. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. So I'm more, I'm the type of nigga that can go with the overall theme. Yeah. Here. So I just try to be a good person, man.
That's not. It's like I
like the band though. I will say that the bands be choir.
Okay, choir.
The choir be jamming like in church, man. They got that plexiglass around the drummer. That's how you know it's about to go down.
When he got a shield.
What? They got a budget, man. That's a good one.
Oh man, it's crazy because like thinking about like me growing up when I was in Catholic high school when I was with my mom. So like I was always like I would have to go like to the
catechism.
Mass. Yeah, no, all that bullshit. And then like on Sundays you had to get a card where you had to prove that you went to church. So I'd always went to the school.
You just held it up to the sky like I went. Dog, it's me. I know you can see me out of all the niggas on the earth. Punched like that. I mean, is that how that works?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to, you have to have the pastor sign it. So we gotta go to the black church on Sundays.
What did he do with them then?
They just was like, okay, you went. It's attended. Yeah, they just took it. They just took the word for it. But it's that thing of like, I grew up with so much like religion in me, and trying to like, I think it was like that fear of God is like was in me so much that I wasn't trying to do good because I wanted to do good or I felt my own reason to do good. It was like I was being like
compliant.
Bullied. Yeah, compliant or like. It just didn't feel right, and even now it's like every time like I talk about religion and it's still
you feel guilty.
I feel like,
good. Like he's like God staring at you. Or you
like
about,
word.
I heard what you said.
Yeah, like you ain't a Christian no more. You don't believe
that lamp gonna fly around the room tonight, motherfucker. I heard what you said.
Man, that shit scares the shit out of me.
Me too. I still can't watch Beloved.
A word.
That dog fight. I'm like, I was thinking about shit I had did. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, man.
It's that like I get so much anxiety from that because like I have the same kind of tenets of as in life, right?
Right.
You want to be a good person because you want to be a good person.
Right.
And you're like, you know what? Shit can be stressful in your life if you let that stress and bad energy in your life. When you see it, when you can smell that evil, you're like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even need to be like, your conscience tells you what's right and wrong.
That's right.
And in the same way, it's like when, like, even with this podcast, where it was like, I wanted something, like I wanted to do a podcast. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a comic, I need a podcast and all this other shit. But then it really came down to, if I do something, what am I gonna do that's gonna be impactful to other people?
Right.
Like that makes sense from me, and also that when I do it, other people like
into it, but it's like, fuck, this religious thing is fucking me up, man.
Right, I know, right? You got that guilt on you.
Yeah, that guilt is all over.
Say a couple cuss words or something, man.
Yeah,
Free yourself. Fuck that.
But I don't know.
This is dope though. It's a curveball from you because you are a comic, established. You didn't been on the marquee.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this is something completely different. It's another extension of your work.
Yeah.
And this is actually gonna birth whole new comedic routines. Imagine the stories of shit I done told you today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All the stories you're gonna hear, you're gonna get so enriched, even as a comic, from doing this good ass work. And this is gonna make people like just believe in you and attach themselves to your brand. So this is great. The fact that you even had this idea is great. Thank God for Thank you for mental illness. This time.
Thank God, this time.
You know what I'm saying?
Mental illness,
Appreciate
health,
it today
wellness. We gonna make when it comes to this right here. This good thing.
Not them sleepless nights. You could have kept it then, but today, you know what I'm saying? It was all that.
You ever have when you say sleepless nights, have you ever had like insomnia or like nightmares or anything like that? I know this is a weird word.
Yeah, I have. I've stayed up many, many nights because of things that I was taught and feeling like, and also on some real shit, I'm a very, like I said, loyalty is everything to me. Yeah. And that translates to my relationship with my family. You know, my brother and I are beyond close. My brother's 8.5 years older than me. We talk. I've already talked to him 3 times today. You know what I'm saying? We talk multiple times a day. He's extremely supportive of me. We know everything about each other. Yeah. My older sister, same relationship. And so we were raised to have very strong familial bonds, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that there's a breakdown in my relationship with my parents is heartbreaking for me. And I never talk about it because it's something that's really important to me, and it's not going to be available for fodder, you know what I'm saying? But that is, so yes, that would keep me up at night thinking that, you know, what could I have done differently? What can I do differently? Yeah. You know, every day is just a new opportunity for me to figure things out. So there's many nights when I'm up. Plus, I'm a creative. Everything is better at night. The music sounds better for some reason. Food tastes better at nighttime. The covers feel better. The spot you lay in be a little warmer. The pillow be a little bit cooler. Yeah. Everything's better in the middle of the night. So I'll be up.
That's so, man, it's a weird thing because it's like I want to ask you about like when you say like the breakdown. Yeah. It's like kind of like.
What you want to know about it?
I don't. There's so many things like in a way like what caused it? Do you think there could be anything that fixes it?
All the questions I've been answering for years, right? So
that's what I'm saying. Like it's hard to
breakdown because we have there's things about my life that are not in accordance with the faith principles that my parents lived their lives by, and all that is of importance to them is the fact that it exists, you know what I mean, in my life, or that this is a circumstance. And there's no thought really beyond that. There's no thought of, okay, how do we now move? How do we now operate or function? It's just, oh, well, we can't be in your life when it comes to certain things. And so there's just a void. So that begets certain amounts of resentment because you would think that, you know, and this is nothing. This is something that people go through based on all different types of shit, right? But you would think that the bond, you know, between them and you as family members, especially the nature of that relationship, parent to child, sometimes you would think that would usurp anything else, you know what I mean? Or just trump oh God, no. You know, or mean
overstep.
More. Yeah, overstep, thank
Whatever.
you.
Whatever, I mean, let's euphemism out.
Clinton, let's call it Clinton.
Clinton.
You would think that would Clinton, you know, everything.
You think it would Barack things.
Barack? Okay. You think that would Barack things, you know what I mean? But it doesn't. And so then you have to think about that because sometimes that'll make you feel like you're not worth a whole lot. Yeah. Makes you feel like, well, damn, like y'all care more about, you know, that than you do about me. And so then it manifests itself differently for everybody. With me, it motivates me to be even better at the things that I want to be good at, right? I want to be the greatest funny nigga you ever met. I want to be excellent, you know, sitting in my chair or my mic. I want to be a great actor, you know what I mean? I want to make pieces that will change the world, and it motivates me to be worthwhile in every other area of my life. I feel like I'm better in bed because of it, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that matters. You know, because, you know, that does.
That and Black Lives. Those are two things.
You get 2 permanent records. They don't tell you about that. And when you growing up, they always be like, it's going to be on your permanent record. Well, there's another one.
Yeah, there's
that they don't talk about, okay? But no,
Stay woke, y'all. Stay woke.
For real, okay? Because people talk, man.
Yeah.
And it goes across communities. I done heard some things about a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, she don't?
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to real relationships. You gotta protect yourself.
You got to, man, for
healthy,
real.
Happy. Feel like gotta be out the game.
They say the streets is talking. The sheets is talking. Okay?
Oh man, that's such an interesting thing. Like, because I feel like one of my tenets is like, if someone doesn't, you kind of get to a point, and I was thinking about this on the way, where it's like, you kind of want to just love yourself, right? And when you have that anxiety, it's like this thing that you don't like about yourself, and you're like, how do I fix this? Yeah. Instead of knowing that that's who you are and just accept that's who you are, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like, if it's a thing of like with the homecoming story, where it's like, okay, well, I'm this, and I'm also currently the son of 2 very religious parents who won't let me go to this homecoming. That's like who you are, and you don't want to be that.
Because it's not who you are.
But it's not who you are. That's who they're making you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's that thing.
I used
like,
to go in the fight, man.
Really?
I used to be like, I wish I could just throw down with my mom and my dad. Like, why ain't it all right for us to fight it out? You know what I'm saying? Because that was the only, you know, resolve I could see. You know how you just be literally fighting mad? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Do you get mad like now, like when you were back home, like the weekend?
I'm grown. I do it. Now it's all good. I can go home and like, you know.
How is that though? Like going home and like, you know, you got all that.
Well, it's cool because like I said, time just literally heals everything. Yeah. Everything. And as you grow and you mature, you recognize the importance of certain experiences beyond the way that they affect you sometimes. Yeah. And so that being said, you also recognize your agency in that moment. And I know that I'm an adult and I can literally do whatever I want to do. Yeah. So I can be in the same space with my parents, who I love dearly, and am the type of child who won't ignore their adult aging parents, right? Yeah. But I can be in their space and totally be Dustin, because what they're going to do is give me a whooping. You know what I'm saying? Beyond that, like, I mean, fuck what y'all talking about. We need to see each other because you're my parents and I'm your kid. So even though you've talked that shit about not being able to be in my life, I'm going to still go home and show up. I'm still going to come over. You still going to cook for me.
They still your parents.
You know, I'm not fucking nobody in front of your face. So outside of that, there's no need for us to even talk about any of that shit. Yeah. Unless y'all are right with it, because I'm fine. I'm an open book as far as they concerned, unless it's the Bible. And you know, but yeah, I just totally be myself, man. Yeah.
That's
what they gonna do, dog.
They're not gonna do nothing.
You
know
what I'm saying?
Like,
and you gotta have that. You have to have that breakthrough, though. You have to experience that in order to really step into yourself completely. Because otherwise, you'll approach every other relationship in your life where there is an opportunity for them to judge you or to measure you, you know, against some sort of criteria. You'll be fearful in those relationships professionally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Your personal relationships. You know, all that shit will be fucked up until you really are present in front of the root of the issue. At least for me. You speak about anxiety, you speak about depression, and these are things where people are clinically diagnosed, right? Yeah. I knew some shit was wrong, you know what I'm saying? And I think back now and I wonder, like, damn, was I depressed? How have I been depressed? Do I got anxiety? You know what I'm saying? I just be feeling like something wrong. So, like, you know what I'm saying? But I know something's wrong. You know what I mean? And so then, as an adult, I was at a workshop. Yeah. At the time, I was a program director for this nonprofit that worked with, like, middle schoolers in technology arts here in New York City. In the Bronx, but I was at a workshop that we had to go to for that, and it was facilitated by a holistic life coach. This lady, she's a white lady, and she had the "can I speak to the manager" haircut that's short on one side, long on the other side. So I knew she, you know, had a way with brothers and shit. So I'm like, okay, man, we can conversate. Not converse.
Conversate. That's right.
So, okay. And I knew she would feel that. She wasn't quite Rachel Dolezal levels of, like, you know, that type of shit, but she was cool enough. She had nail art. Okay. So, but once she started speaking, you know what I mean? She was just making so much sense, and I wanted to know more about her. Yeah. And we had a connection, so she gave me her card, and she changed my life. She was my first experience with therapy. Her and I had some conversations that really, truly just changed and shifted my just my perspective on a lot of shit. These mics are really good, so I'm sorry for swallowing spit. And to you too, our engineer Chris.
Yeah, shout out to Chris, man. He's gonna fix all this shit.
Yeah, but you know, we had transformative conversations, bro. Yeah. Where I felt like because I've traveled and I've been around so many different types of people and had natural feelings of being open to understanding the way that people lived that was differently from me. Yeah. She helped me define like my worldview. She helped me understand that it was completely okay for me to be exactly who I was because I wasn't living by that standard that I was presented anymore. You know, I had decided different rules, and once I began to really see what that looked like and understand it, I quit giving a fuck. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I was grateful for her help in organizing my thoughts, and because I've had to think so far ahead for so long, I've always been good at staying in control of, like, you know, my thoughts and keeping things where they go and really, you know, navigating my way through spaces. I just needed her help.
It's that thing of like, I feel like in order to get through like anxiety, depression, all that shit, you gotta come to a point where you stop giving a fuck, right? But the danger is that you should give a fuck about like yourself.
Yes.
Because some people, it's like you get to a point where like, and I've been there where it was like, I was like, I don't give a fuck what people think, but I also didn't give a fuck how I felt, you know, or like about life. So I was just being super reckless, super ratchet, all the shit, and it's like,
and even though that's not fun, right. It's not healthy. Yeah.
It's not healthy, and it's and that's the thing when like when people talk about like mental illness or mental health or having mental wellness, of saying, okay, it's cool not to give a fuck, right, but also to give a fuck about what you stand for and your tenets and how you feel spiritually, how you feel.
There's bullets under that umbrella of not giving a fuck, quote unquote. When people say that, I hope it means is that they don't give a fuck about you know, satisfying people's desires for what they want their life to be. Your parents was fucking and doing whatever they wanted to do. That's why you're here. You know what I mean? They've given you these ideas based on something that made sense to them. But what makes sense to you? Yeah. You raised me to excel academically. You raised me to think on certain levels. Did you believe that was going to stop when it came to what you told me was right? No, it's not. It means I'm going to think and consider everything, every aspect of my life, and come to my own conclusions about stuff. The older you get, the more time you spend in these situations, the more you're able to kind of cool off the resentment that happens, because ultimately you do experience that resentful phase. Well, some people may, some people don't. I definitely did, you know.
Did you ever, like, the resentful phase, how did you deal with that? Did you just like cool off, or did you speak to everybody? Like if it's like your parents or whatever, it's like, hey.
You know what? I respect my parents, man, and I've always been raised to have a very heightened awareness of the way that I was speaking to and involving myself with my parents in conversation and in my way with them. Yeah. So it's never been okay with me. Like I say what I want to say to my parents now about my feelings on things. You know what I mean? But I've never like lashed out, you know, on my parents, or like, you know, not
a lashing out, but like just communicating that, like, hey, these kind of things happen, and I wasn't. It's like, because I've had that with my folks, where it was like, you know, after like being in the hospital and all that stuff, it was like we finally went to dinner together, and I was like, hey, Mom, Dad, this is great that we're doing this. This is the first time we actually ate together in public ever in our lives. Oh no, it's not. I'm like, name the time. Yeah. Okay, you can't. So let's get back into the real shit, and just basically saying like, hey, these things happened. It happened. It's in the past. Now we learn from that and we move on from that together. We acknowledge that it happened, and now we grow together and we move on. And things have been so good. It wasn't like, you did this and I fucked up. It's like, no, this is what happened. I get it. You were young. You guys having fun. Whatever. Here I am. Now, this is what we do together as a unit, a family, not. They're both like remarried and all different things, but it's like
life is going on.
Yeah, life is going on. But as my life continues to go, I'm like, okay, this is the path I'm on, and I would like you to be on this path with me, and this is how we can do that. Does this work with you?
God bless the fact that your parents were present enough, mature enough, and caring enough to go through those steps with you, and be open to, you know, finding a rhythm post those experiences, because everyone's parents are not. And when you throw in that faith-based dynamic, then they feel an allegiance to or a responsibility to be faithful. You know, I love you, but I love God more than anything. And so it kind of provides a hindrance in that kind of progress.
Do they, like do your parents, like because you have a good relationship with your brother, right?
Yes.
So it's like, it's weird because it's like, is your brother like the lawyer, the Dustin lawyer? You know what I mean? Like is he?
I'm my own lawyer more so.
Yeah.
My brother, however, is just very, very, like I said, my brother is I can't add him.
Shout out to your brother, by the way.
Shout out to my brother and my sister. And all my friends know that my relationship with my brother and my sister is the most important thing in my life.
Yeah.
There's nothing that my brother or my sister wouldn't do for me and vice versa. So I know that, like, my brother goes to bat for me verbally, you know, if it need be, but there's really no need to, because I go to bat for myself. And I've long established the fact that I'm okay now. Yeah. And so it's kind of either you get with it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so now it's just like what it is. And I don't feel that I have to have a moment of anyone telling me, like, okay, I get it and I'm sorry, because I know that my way of thinking is a little bit beyond like what they even are capable of doing. They're doing the best with what they work with and their exposure, and it's just different. So there's certain things that I can't even expect them to do. I can only ask that I'm respected and considered with compassion. That's really all I want. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the best way that I can I almost have a response. There's so many things. I know that I'm not going to have there's certain responsibilities in my parent-child relationship that I have that other people don't. I know there's things that I have to teach my parents how to do. I don't have the luxury of just landing somewhere to land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to teach them how to be the landing pad. So I just do it. That's just what my life is, bro. It's just what my life is. And I ultimately, like, my heart desires for things to be good, and so I just go out of my way to do it. Thank God I have my brother and my sister and great friends like Fury. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm just really grateful. My best friend Gary, you know, all of my friends. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I have them, and I'm good anyway. Cause what was the first line of the sentence? I don't give a fuck, no way. Like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna teach my parents how to coexist in my life. Yeah. I'm gonna do my best to make their life as easy as I can. And I'm okay with that. I have finally accepted the fact that we don't have a traditional, you know, relationship. Yeah. So let's make the best of what we have before you get too old to remember it.
That's it. That's the last part. Really that's the last part of it. That's it. We wrap it up right there. That's it. That's like, so Dustin, you good?
I'm good. What I tell you.
Right,
I'm good over here.
You know what I mean? You don't give a fuck. Like, that's all, you know.
I'm good, bro. You good. I want you to be good. And this is good that you're doing this. This is actually going to keep you good. This will keep you thinking and aware on different levels based on who's sitting in this chair or wherever they sit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, I just want to just talk to people that like are friends of mine, people I respect and admire, and just like have that open dialogue, because I just know, and it's like, even hearing like your story, it's like, if there was something like this while you were growing up and heard like, oh, someone else wasn't able to go to homecoming because of like their religious parents or something, like, hopefully that helps. Or people who are like, you know, in our kind of like peer group who might be going through some crazy ass shit and they don't know how to deal with it or who to talk to, whatever. But just to hear us as public figures talk about it, it's like, okay, they might not be ready to talk about it yet, but they know that the conversation can happen, and it doesn't have to be like the scary, impossible thing.
And that things can get better, for real. Like, people have to have something to be hopeful about when it comes to those uncomfortable things that really can cripple you and your growth. You got to know, you got to have some light at the end of the tunnel, man. Otherwise, people are just going to spin out of control. So it takes some focus, but like, things can get better, and you can learn how to live beyond all of that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to fence you in to like misery for the rest of your life. It's hard work, but it doesn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Along the way, if somebody gets elbowed in the face, they just catch an elbow to the face. You know what I'm saying? There was a long time in my life I listened to Annie Up every morning. So you know what the fuck I was on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
MOP in the morning.
Period. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man.
All right, man. Thanks for coming in and doing it, man.
No
I really
doubt,
appreciate it,
man.
Dustin, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's it.
Word.
Bam. Hey, what's up? So that's the episode. Hope you like it. Shout out to Dustin Ross. You can check him out on Instagram, Twitter, all that. Look at Dustin. I appreciate him for being so honest and open about, his family, growing up, a lot of religious talk. But I hope from that episode you guys kind of got the, don't give a fuck. You should give a fuck about certain things, but don't really worry about what people think of you. If you're being someone who is truly yourself and you're trying to better the world and better yourself, then do that. Like the good will come around. Don't focus on the bad stuff, man. And if you don't know how to do that, like I will always tell you, I will always be someone who is a champion for therapy. If you need somebody to talk to, if you're feeling suicidal, please check out the suicidal hotline. We'll probably have that in the description for you. And let me know what you think of the episode. Let me know, if you good or whatever. Send some stuff. I want to start reading some stuff on the podcast. And thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. This is me signing out, and you can find me on everything at Yo Mike Brown. Peace.